Welcome everyone to the first motocross track owner roundtable. Appreciate everyone really taking the time to join us and get involved. My name is Mike Bambrick. I'm the founder of Full Throttle, and Eric and I kind of came together. We saw a lot of track closures this year, as I'm sure you guys have as well, and we felt that there was a real need to kind of bring everyone together from that and kind of try to address some of these issues that are happening that are causing these closures. And so today we put together a pretty powerful panel. We only have 1 hour, so it's going to be pretty brief. But I think what could come from this is, more focused roundtables to really
I can't
address
do this.
issues, specific issues head on. We did a survey prior to this. We conducted it with track owners, and the one astounding measurement that really was prominent to us was that 100% of those that took the survey wanted to network and connect with other track owners. And so that really prompted this meeting specifically to see what else we could kind of build from here. So I'll turn it over to Eric. He's going to moderate today, and I'll share my screen and we'll jump into the panelists. But thank you again for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for wanting to be part of something bigger. Mike and I met about a year ago. I've been involved in the motorcycle industry since the 80s. I knew Roy Jansen when he was a young man, and so was I. I worked at the Motorcycle Industry Council, built my own helmet companies and protective clothing companies, and now I'm a consultant and an expert witness that defends motorcycle manufacturers and accessory and protective apparel manufacturers. So Mike asked me to just moderate this. I'm not going to be making any presentations. My job's to keep everything on time. The idea behind collectively pulling all of us together is that we're going to learn from each other's mistakes and our successes. We're not quite a not-for-profit trade association, although I just helped put up the National Power Sport Dealer Association. I'm also working with the road reps in the industry to put together an association. But after talking to Roy Jansen, who's on this call a couple of weeks ago, if we get too organized and put up too much website and too much information, can that work against us? So it's going to be up to the group to network amongst yourselves. I think it's great that Mike Bambrick is doing this and is going to share insurance companies, financial companies, marketing and branding company names, and then, of course, names between all of yourselves so you can network. Our idea here is to just do what we can to preserve, protect, and promote the motocross industry. AMA is on this call. Thank you for being here. We do not have, a hidden agenda here other than to help the industry grow. And we need their advice as well, particularly for mom and pop motocross tracks, second and third tier tracks that need help, that need insight, that need to know where the industry is going so they can help plan their business better and create a feeder system into pro motocross at the top of the pyramid. But we do that, of course, like with events of Loretta Lynn's, building it for youth so that we can have better and more competitive motocrossers to compete on the world stage. We all love the sport. With that, I'm going to introduce Render Freeman on our first category here for 10 minutes or so, Render. I know you've got a plane to catch, but on the front of legal and regulatory landscape. Render, can you tell us a little bit about your background, what it is that you do to an audience that perhaps never met you before, and how can you help us on the topics of legal liabilities and the regulatory landscape on the horizon? I turn it over to you, Freeman.
My name's Render Freeman. I'm a lawyer in Georgia, and I got to throw out that disclaimer that y'all are from all over the country, and so I can't really give you advice on your states, but I can give you a window into how things work in Georgia and why I got involved in a motocross case. I was the plaintiff's lawyer. I'm the one that you guys are worried about, and I think that by the end of the presentation, I hope to kind of alleviate some of your concern because in the case that I was involved in, it was such an outrageous scenario and such bad conduct on the part of the owner of the property specifically, not his people, but he himself was a defendant and was the primary actor in the situation. I typically I've been practicing law for 30 years. I only handle medical malpractice cases at this point. So I sue hospitals and doctors and rarely nurses when they really screw up. And I think doctors are the same way and hospitals are the same way. I think hospitals are a little more sophisticated. Doctors sort of have nightmares about the thing goes wrong and you get sued for something frivolous. But I'll tell you, I turn down easily 95% of the cases that people bring to me. It has to be egregious conduct and there have to be just terrible, terrible consequences. So every now and then I'll take a case that really, I'll just say it the way I say it to other folks, that pisses me off. And this case pissed me off. And I'm going to share my screen and tell you basically what happened in this case. A tree, we had a biomechanical expert lay out all this based on the investigation. A tree fell exactly as he was going by it and hit him in the face, took him backwards off of the motorcycle, cracked his skull, killed him instantly, broke his neck. He went backwards. His bike kept going down the track, and the only damage to the bike was to the handlebars. It had wood embedded in the handlebars. So how did that tree fall? Well, when the sheriff's deputies got out there, they saw this track hoe in the woods. You see it sort of through the woods here, and you see the tree extending towards us, and you can see Adam's face guard eye goggles there. And then as you get towards the bike and you look directly into the woods, you can see that track hoe. And when that's the embedded wood in the handlebars of the bike. That's his cracked helmet. And you can see that the shovel of the track hoe is buried in the stump of the tree that was knocked over. So our quick assessment, and everybody else that was out there, we weren't out there on the day of, but the sheriff's deputies, the coroner, concluded that whoever was operating this track hoe knocked the tree over onto Adam as he was driving by and killed him. And you can see here that the shovel is literally buried in the stump of the tree. And it's not a terribly healthy tree, so it probably came down pretty easily, but the track hoe is what knocked it over. And the owner of the track admitted that he was driving the track hoe at the time. Now, he swore under oath at his deposition he had been down in those woods clearing trees, and he saw the bike up on the track and then climbed up the hill on the track hoe to see what was going on. And it's just a pure coincidence that his shovel was buried in the base of the tree that fell and killed Adam. So that was his story, and we didn't accept it, and we filed a lawsuit and tried the case to a jury of 12 regular people from Greene County, Georgia, which is not exactly, the kind of community that you would think would return a huge verdict. The hard dollar losses to his family was $22 million because he was going to work for another 20 years as an orthodontist making, the big bucks. Orthodontists do really well.
And
so,
Rinder,
yes.
to move things along, is the lesson here to just separate track maintenance events from riding events?
The lesson is that, yes, and it's close the track when you're working on or near the track.
Yeah.
He knew that the track was open and testified to that effect.
You've got zoning and safety regulations and standards here as bullet points. We've only got a few more minutes left, but I want you to get really sort of the omnibus and overall points here to those track owners that are listening on what to do or not to do.
Well, it's going to vary. Zoning in particular is going to vary from state to state and from county to county. So you're going to need to have a lawyer in the county where your facility is to give you advice on zoning. I think there was some concern that Mike mentioned about, possibly you own the property and you're using it to run a track and the county decides that they want to put you out of business by changing your zoning. That typically is illegal and would constitute a taking, like when they take the front yard to build a 4-lane. If if they change the zoning laws and put you out of business, that can be an unconstitutional taking that they have to compensate you for. But I would advise you to have a good local lawyer that knows the local board of commissioners on the zoning and the planning to advocate for you and to be kind of watchful of that sort of stuff. I can't really comment on regulatory. I'm not sure what the regulatory structure is around motocross facilities. If there's even a federal system, it's probably also regulated on a local basis. But the key here is to, do what you guys are all already doing, run a safe ship, do the best you can to create a safe track. There is I've got a $22 million verdict against all of these entities, and the judge added attorney's fees to that. So it's a $30 million verdict at this point. And another lawyer in a different scenario had a case against these facilities where they covered it up. A kid got hurt. He went off the track and hit an exposed pipe and ripped his leg up. And the guys panicked and they went out there, and the allegations were that they were trying to cover it up and bury the pipe. That just made matters worse.
So, hey, let me ask a question. This is Rick Lindsey. I own Prime Insurance Company, and I do all kinds of recreational cases.
Yeah.
Took a case to the Supreme Court in California called Sains versus Whitewater Voyages in the 80s, and was told release forms were no good. So you have a $22 million judgment. How much insurance did they have?
Zero. And they had a release form that everybody signed saying that they're not responsible for negligent acts, which is enforceable in Georgia. But it's not. You can have a release as to negligent act, like just that you fell.
But not gross negligence.
But not gross
negligence.
That's exactly right.
This is also simple. I've been doing this since the 80s. And all of this comes down to stop being stupid. Find an insurance partner that you trust. Most people don't report claims if they have insurance. And I say, why don't you report your claims? Because I'll get canceled. Like, oh, so you have fake insurance.
And Rick,
right? This is so simple, it's ridiculous. The helicopter ski industry I've insured since 1985. And I have a big case in Alaska right now. I insure them no matter what. They have deaths, they have accidents. If you're at fault like this, you should have gone and paid the $1 million policy limit. Like Disneyland did when the kid got eaten by an alligator. You don't make lawyers
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And let me tell these guys something that they probably don't get, that and you've known for 50 years. That if they had had $1 million policy in this case, in Georgia, the way the bad faith insurance laws work is it would force my hand. I would have to, as the lawyer, I would have to demand the $1 million. I'd have to give them a chance to pay. And if they didn't pay, if the insurance company said, no, we don't think we did anything wrong, then the insurance company in Georgia would be on the hook for the full verdict. But they're going to pay.
That's actually the trick the whole legal system uses to get everybody to settle bullshit cases where they should fight. Because the insurance companies aren't going to let the policy be opened up. So this is like the playground. You pick good partners who stick with you in tough times. And if this was your case, I would say, dude, we're going to pay the $1 million and you can't be a dumbass anymore. And you're going to have to pay a lot more for insurance. Right? The good guys shouldn't have to be affected by this.
But as it turns out,
you have to have a relationship. All you guys, for the 25 years I've been insuring helicopter skiing, you've been buying from K&K and First Special, all these companies who aren't your partner. They're selling you a policy and you need a partner. Simple. Do the right thing. It's not
Rick, you're going to be on next. Rick, Rick is next section. But before Render goes, if anyone has a question, type it into the chat box at the bottom of your screen. And we're going to thank Render. Render, we've got contact.
Hang on, just real quick.
Go ahead.
Mark your calendars that this day in history, the insurance guy and the plaintiff's lawyer totally agree that you should have a reasonable amount of insurance company.
That's never happened
and a partner.
So, Park, what are you saying?
Rick, one thing you mentioned to Mike and me a week or so ago was this sort of trend of minors and related to waivers that their parents sign, but a minor cannot sign that waiver. Is that something you want to address and share with the group?
Well, a parent can't sign and release the gross negligence of a track against a minor. You can't do that against an adult either. They can only release assumed risks in what would be called ordinary negligence if you're, splitting hairs. But for every move, there's a counter move. And every lawyer will tell you, their qualifier that I'm only in Georgia, right? I do this in all 50 states. I've done it since 1985. I insure X mountain guides in the Grand Teton, where we insure the national park, and people die fall climbing. So there isn't a nightmare that I haven't seen or had to deal with. He just admitted he can't get $40 million. So that's a fake verdict, right? But that's how the whole system scares the shit out of you, like the bully on the playground when we were kids. If we're good partners, we can beat up any fucking bully on the playground.
I think the one thing too, Rick, is tracks right now are also struggling to even get insurance or keep their insurance.
But there's a track down here in St. George that I insured and off and on, and he's a dirt work guy, and he had a policy with K&K for $1,200 fucking dollars. You know what it covered? Nothing. Basically, it's like a spectator premises liability policy. Anybody riding is excluded. So that's not real coverage, right? It's like if you own a bar and I say we don't cover the liquor and you got to go buy liquor coverage separately. That means I really don't want to insure your bar. So when you insure tracks, you should insure the participants. You include the people who are going to get injured and sue you. So this guy didn't have any coverage. He may have had a K&K policy that excluded participants. I don't know. The lawyer would know. But, I form partnerships with industries, and I've been here for the motocross industry forever. I hate insurance. I have a podcast. I was an agent for 15 years, and I said, these insurance guys are crooks. They want your money, and they don't ever want to pay a claim. Just look at Florida homeowners, right? I insure shit in Florida. I've already paid their claims. Everybody else is still waiting for a report from some adjuster. This isn't rocket science. You're the insured, you're operating your facility. I'm the insurance company. X Insurance is a broker, right? I've had that since the 80s. In 94, I got sick and tired. I went to Chicago and formed Prime Insurance Company. It's A-rated. It's in all 50 states. I insure, mobile homes, and I insure $40 million homes. So but Rick, I don't compete with stupid.
Rick, and we all understand what's stupid, but we also need to establish sort of at some point in this industry's growth and evolution for especially the second and third tier mom and pop motocross tracks, what is stupid? Now, I'm not going to go into that right now, but, I'm covering a case too where a water truck was on the track while it was still active, and the water truck backed over a 14-year-old kid and killed him.
Pay it.
Yeah, it's this kind of stuff that is stupid. But Rick, let's go back to that case, Saints versus the Whitewater Rafting Company. This was something you told Mike and me a week or so ago about upholding the power of the waiver. Is that correct?
Yeah. No, again, assumption of the risk is part of the law. If you jump off a cliff and you know you're going to die, you can't sue somebody.
Wasn't the Saints versus Whitewater case, he was a minor?
No, he was a father, and he had a daughter that, same thing. The income he would have made forever, is the number that they're trying to get to. So they're suing for $10 million. Well, the rafting guys only have $1 million limit. So
but since we don't know the details of the case, what was the outcome?
The guy fell out of the boat and drowned.
And Whitewater Rafting Company was not held liable. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they wanted to settle. The lawyers all wanted to settle. I said, We have to fight this. Took it to the Supreme Court. It is now upheld. California, they said release forms are no good here. In every state, you'll talk to different lawyers and say they're no good. Bullshit. All they are is a written agreement that you assumed risk, right? If I don't have the written agreement or a photo of the accident, it's your word against my word. What did I tell you? Did you assume the risk, right? The inherent risks of riding at a track and you misjudging the whoops and crashing on your own, that's inherent. We have to fight that. That's the root of our survival. If you back over a kid with a water truck, you better just go pay. Do not make lawyers rich.
Yeah.
You've been making, all of this is like a bad divorce. The lawyers love it. And everybody looks at bad divorces and say, well, that's a stupid couple.
But Rick, is there advice here to the track owners on this call, how to write a better waiver? Is that?
No, again, when I started this and I went to the rafting industry and any sport, I went to the insurance company and said, we have to give these guys the release form, right? That's part of our job. We have to execute all the way through the trial. What happens is insurance companies say, we can't do that. Just like our lawyer friend said, you need to go to a local lawyer and have him draft it. Well, how many tracks are going to go spend money on a lawyer and a release form? What you all do is you go online, you steal somebody else's and you replace your name. And all of those things miss one sentence. So when you sue me in any contract, if I put one sentence and you lose, you pay all my legal bills. We make our system a loser pay system. Tort reform's been talking about changing the law since I was born. We don't need to do that. Have an agreement. So when we insure you, we give you the release form and you agree to use it. Then I go to your track and I look at your release form and I say, dude, this ain't our release form. And you say, yeah, my lawyer said yours is crap. I should use this one. And I say, well, fuck you. Have the lawyer write your insurance policy because he doesn't know. He's not risking money. I am.
Real quick, Rick. So I get what you're saying. I think another thing for track owners is also a lot of them right now are on the brink of losing insurance. What is how can we get them back on track with their insurance or to gain insurance? Like, what do they need to do, whether it's with you, Donald, and Don? I know you're an expert too, so feel free to jump in on the insurance piece.
Don, Patchner?
What do the track owners need to do to secure insurance and to make sure that they're covered if they're on the brink of losing their track? Because several tracks this year have gone out because they lost their insurance or couldn't gain insurance any further. So what can they do proactively to get back on track?
Don?
The issue on tracks, and I don't want to get into specifics because most of the tracks that lost their coverage were insured by us. They declined coverage for Prime. One of the entities had a quote from Prime and refused to buy it. But we're getting into.
I got all kinds of people for 50 years refusing to buy real insurance and picking fake insurance. I got no problem with that.
And we're going to move on to Steve Roget and financial strategies in a minute. If you got a question for Rick Lindsey, go ahead and type it into the chat box and we'll get it handled in the survey and the follow-up to this. This is going to bring up a lot of questions. We get it. Some of it's controversial stuff, but we're not going to solve all these problems with a discussion of 45 people on one call. So with that note, Steven, are you ready to roll on financial strategies and planning?
Ready to roll. So we work with a lot of business owners. Well, to step back, I'm Steve Roget, owner of R.W. Roget & Company, founded in 1986. We're in New York, Massachusetts, and Florida. We work with a lot of small business owners like yourself, helping them with challenges, your challenges that you have, like managing operations, driving growth, and planning for the future. And on the personal side, helping them achieve their goals through financial planning and investment management. So I was going to walk through a couple things, 3 areas today. Just practical tips that you guys could actually use. And then we also have a financial planning checklist specifically for motocross track owners that we could share after the presentation. I think either Mike or Eric was given to it. So first area is budget and cash flow prioritization. It's to help keep your cash flow on track. Running motocross tracks comes with their own set of unique financial challenges, maintaining facilities, especially managing safety protocol, which seems like very important so far in this roundtable. And then competition is fierce, so you're always competing in a crowded market. So here's a couple ways that you can streamline and improve your cash flow. First thing is just separating fixed and variable costs. I know it seems kind of simple, but it'll help you forecast a little bit more accurately and allocate resources more efficiently. 2, prioritizing high impact investments. Equipment maintenance, especially safety improvements, are crucial for both your reputation and liability reduction. And then think about diversifying revenue streams. I'm sure you guys think about this all day, but memberships for regular riders, organize community events to boost attendance, partnering with local sponsors. It seems like last survey we looked at, that seems to be one of the biggest vital sources of revenue. And then leveraging technology, using software to manage ticket sales, memberships, expenses in real time. Tools like QuickBooks seem to be like the industry standard to help you with your bookkeeping. And I know we before the call started, Eric was talking about the benefits of ChatGPT. It is even in our business now, it's becoming even more essential to utilize AI. Every client meeting that we have now, we have an AI note taker that's specifically formatted for the financial planning industry. So we can have really great notes and action items for us and the client after every call. So it saved us a ton of time. Probably saved us a whole employee, a couple tens of $1,000s a year just from ChatGPT. I know you guys, a lot of guys are struggling to survive, but if you happen to be, doing quite well and find some extra cash flow, at the end of the year, you have retirement plan options for your small businesses. And there's really a couple different options. There's what's called a simplified employee pension or a SEP plan, which is you might have heard of before. It's easy to set up. It has high contribution limits, could benefit both you and your employees. You can contribute up to 25% of your comp, or $66,000 a year. The easiest one, and not many of you probably have no employees, but the easiest 401k is called a solo 401k. Very easy to start. You can do it at any Vanguard or Fidelity or whatnot. And you can potentially contribute up to $73,500 for this year. And defined pension plans. I know pension plans are a thing of the past, but for a small business, a defined pension plan is a great way to save and get a defined benefit when you retire. And I know health insurance is probably all over the place for all you track owners, but if you have a high deductible health insurance plan, consider a health savings account. They're very powerful. You don't even need to use them for health expenses while you're working. You fund that account, let it grow like an IRA, and then when you retire, you pull that money out tax-free and use it for health expenses. All right, and then the third area I wanted to touch on is about partnering with a team of experts that you can trust and have on your back. I know we've heard some great speakers today that certainly I'd want in my back pocket in case something happened and I really needed a professional to help me out. So consider a CPA or even an enrolled agent or some type of tax professional. They can even help you, keep your books clean. Look for tax optimization strategies. Navigate any liabilities or obligations that you find yourself having. Finding deductions. These rules are always changing, and then of course, most importantly, ensure compliance. You never want to be audited, but when you do, it is really helpful to have a tax professional in your corner. We are what's called a fee-only financial advisor. So fee-only, we help with investments, retirement plans, risk management, based on your goals. And the term fee-only is very key because we are only paid directly from clients. We don't accept commissions. We're a fiduciary. By law, we have to act as a fiduciary, which means we put your best interests first. So not every advisor is a fiduciary, and less than 2% of advisors out there are actually fee-only financial advisors. The third member of the team, you should have insurance specialists. Rising costs of insurance are a top concern for the industry. An insurance expert can help negotiate better rates, explore alternatives, as costs mitigate liabilities and protect your business. Certainly want an attorney with all these agreements or contracts that you have, critical for addressing legal liability, ensuring you're protected under those contracts and up-to-date legislation. And fifth, you probably don't hear this very often, but having a mentor, especially some of us are younger in the industry, having a business coach or mentor, often underestimated, but they can provide valuable insights and strategies to help you grow your business. All right. And I'd say, on the investment front, keep an eye out for scams. They're becoming more and more prevalent nowadays. When you hear something that's too good to be true, returns, people touting returns like, 16, 18, 19% per year with little or no risk. It's a huge red flag, and we see more and more of them. Hell, there's radio commercials for half of this junk. So just, keep a level head on when you hear, investment opportunities that are too good to be true. Don't take people's word for it. Always verify. You can trust, but definitely verify, and get an expert to review any type of investment that you're ready to make, maybe with your, hopefully your fee-only advisor.
Well, Stephen, maybe you could become that mentor for all of these second and third tier motocross track owners on a financial basis. Would you happen to have an accounting template, an Excel spreadsheet, for instance, with expenses, with incomes and revenues, or maybe it's an accounting sheet from QuickBooks that you could share that's just a generic template, almost a checklist that, Stephen's motocross track, and here's what that accounting spreadsheet looks like. Some of these folks may not have even an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, for sure. So very simply, when we start a financial plan for a client, we give them a cash flow worksheet. It helps break down all your expenses, and you can modify and add in columns that, are not, are more specific to the industry. Very easy to modify, but at least it'd be a good base. On the personal side, there's a app or a software called Monarch. So for personal cash flow projections, it's definitely take a look at the Monarch app because that helps on the personal side.
If you could share all that with Mike Bambrick, he'll put it in the follow-up minutes from this roundtable.
Be happy to.
That would be terrific. And, I want to share something. You mentioned ChatGPT, and in artificial intelligence, everybody reads about it, but nobody knows how to use it. Well, I'm going to share a screen if I can. Mike, I have ability to share a screen because I'm going to show you what I just did on ChatGPT.
Yeah, give me 1 sec. Oh, there you go. You're good.
You see the URL up here is chatgpt.com. Just go there, and I typed in, how can I buy insurance for my motocross track? I have friends now who are in their 30s who are coders and computer and internet wireframe builders and wizards. They use ChatGPT more than they use Google. These young people don't use Google anymore. They use this. And, I was telling Stephen just before this meeting started, I'm restoring an old CR500 Honda from 1983. I asked it I asked it to build me an owner's manual for an 83 CR500. It did it in 3 minutes. It taps all the information from all the internet and gives it to you as long as you learn how to ask very specific questions. And, here's how to use it. I use it pretty regularly. Just type in, how can I buy insurance for my motocross track? With that, before Mike, we go on, I want to thank Stephen for your presentation. Appreciate that, timely and quick. Before we get to marketing and branding, I want to recognize, Roy, are you on the call here too? Do you want to just say a couple words about what we're doing here? Are we crazy?
I've known Eric for 40 years. This all caught me all off guard a little bit when I was sent some information regarding this. I believe some of this stuff is very complicated right now, far more complicated than my pay grade is prepared to discuss. And but all efforts need to begin someplace. One thing that I can divulge that's honest. It's going to be difficult for us to get insurance for motorbike racetracks going forward. There are a ton of active lawsuits, and the climate is not good. And so it was of interest to me. I did tell Eric at that time, and Mike, that I felt this was something the AMA should be involved. That this is something that the MIC should be involved. That this is something this is very complicated and different from state to state, and it's also simply just not a good insurance time right now. I'm not free to speak openly on this. I do rely on Mr. Birdsong for guidance on issues that deal with the company that I work for. As do many AMA promoters, I think. And I think they've already heard the same message that I'm relaying right now. This is not a good time to be in our business in the whether it's the litigation business or the insurance against litigation business. I don't know if too. And so I welcome the opportunity to be able to listen in. I will report back to the folks that I work for at MX Sports and Racer Productions. Have worked at the AMA. I did run the Supercross business for a long time. Was vice president of Live Nation. This is a challenging period right now, and what I'm most concerned is the circulation of misinformation, of information that isn't quite accurate, because and we're finding this especially true that we had made, I think it's safe to say, adult waivers, at least for some period, were recognized in all 50 states. Youth waivers were never recognized everywhere, but were generally recognized simply because of the growth of adventure recreation, whether it was skiing or whether it's rock wall climbing or whether those sorts of things, and the need for parents to be able to allow their children to do things that would be deemed as adventure recreation opened up for a while the youth. The recognition of youth waivers, that politically, to my understanding, has gone dramatically in the other direction, and that there are many states right now that do not, or in the future will not, recognize adult signed youth releases. I couldn't even guess it in my. I'm 75 years old and working since 64 in this business. I've never seen it like this. And so,
but Roy, that's why we want to keep you on the team, because you have so much experience, more than some of us combined. And I appreciate your time in being here. The fact that you have built this sport from what it was in the 70s, from Trans Ams to what it is now. And I appreciate your service to the world of motocross, literally the world. So thank you for that. We're going to move on here, but Roy Jansen, everybody, he's kind of the father of American motocross to me, all the way back to the 70s when I was racing CZs and Huskies. So that's the man, that's the grandpa that we should all be mentored by. Roy, we so much appreciate it though. Mike Brambrick, it's time to move on to our section real quick. And then I've got a couple of things to sew this all up in the end.
Sure.
Thanks, Roy. Roy Jansen, everybody.
Thank you, Roy.
If you
Appreciate
had a
it.
chance to give applause, I would start that right now.
Definitely.
In the next few minutes, Mike and I kind of have a little bit of marketing and branding information that just to titillate your curiosity about how to build your relationship either with local businesses or motocross related brands. You know, I know all the folks at 100% Goggles, Bell Helmets. There's a new helmet brand coming to Anaheim too this year that you'll hear more about that I'm helping to launch. But banners for your catch fences, sponsorships from local pizza parlors. You know, we're going to put together a branding program, I think, that will certainly be helpful on how to solicit assistance, not necessarily monetary, but perhaps in the way of product, which you can turn into cash with raffles, sweepstakes, or any kinds of contests that you might have, and obviously race awards. Mike, do you want to talk a little bit about tools to market your track that you've seen other track owners using?
Yeah, sure. I think the obvious is Instagram. That is a huge platform that helps kind of spread the word. We've developed fullthrottle.mx, which is another opportunity for you guys to put your track out there. We have a lot of SEO tools kind of built into our system to help spread the word and make sure that your track's getting noticed in Google. And then, as we mentioned before, you know, I think track safety and also just how you're handling not only your guests, but the riders that are at your facility helps build your brand from an internal to an outward perspective as well. So just a few things to think about on that.
Well, even something as simple as how to write a press release.
Yeah. And teaming up
You
with
know,
your local
we can
community
share
too.
with you what a press release looks like. What was that, Mike? I saw a glitch there happen.
Sorry, I was just saying that to your point about the press release, also teaming up with your local community to create events and then using a press release and teaming up with, you know, the local news station, local radio to make sure your events are getting the proper announcement.
Oh yeah. And those radio stations will do a remote transmission from your track too. Some days it's actually pretty fun. And you know, I was raised in Southern California in the 70s, and I was on the high school motocross track team. I hated football and baseball. It had to have an engine and two wheels. Why can't high school motocross teams come back into the industry? It's just an idea, but it's something Mike Bambrick and I may be working on for templates in the future. With that, Mike, anything else you want to add sort of in marketing and branding? We don't have a lot of time, but you know, we touch on these things. It's something that this group can pool together. Is there anyone in the group here, by raising your hand, that has a great success story on marketing and branding that worked for you that you want to share with the group? I understand if you're shy. Dan, let's unmute Dan there in the middle of the screen.
I'll say this. I don't know that I'll share a specific story, but my day job. So my track is my retirement business. I'm finally going back to doing the thing that I love. My day job, I actually own a media and communications company, and I do branding and marketing materials. So what you're talking about, I've been doing for about 20 years. Now, most of what I do now is for large banks, financial industries, stuff like that. But yeah, I do a lot of this stuff. And I will say this, having an online presence is incredibly important. Making sure that your pages are tagged properly so that when people run a search, hey, where can I find a track to ride? You're going to come up high in the results. But more importantly, like in my case, I run a school for tourists, basically. I won't get into the details right now, but what I do is I go to the local tourist areas and I get friendly with all the local people where people might come on vacation so that I can put all my flyers out there and say, hey, come on over. Now, if you just have a track and you're looking for local riders, you'd want a different strategy. but it's really important to understand who your target demographic is, who are the people that are probably going to come to your place and be good clients and be good customers, and frankly, how you can encourage them to speak to other people. Those are really sort of the key things that we look for and encourage. I don't know if that helps. I'm trying to truncate a lot into 30 seconds here.
Well, it helps for us to know who you are, and I've just got you on our attendance list now, and you are marked as the media and marketing expert.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
Awesome.
If there are, yeah, I mean, if there are any questions, I'd be happy to help or speak a little bit more. But your target demo, knowing who you're talking to and how to speak to them, is really important.
Well, that's very cool, Dan. Appreciate the insight. I know we only got a few more minutes. I'm going to share one more screen, sort of skipping topics. One of the cases that was being shared earlier during the insurance section is this case, Science versus Whitewater Voyages. You guys at the Diablo Motocross track might want to look up this too. Science versus Whitewater. This, I believe, and I haven't dug into it a lot, really reinforces the power of the waiver. And I believe this was it California or not? I'd have to go look. But you might study this, SAENZ versus Whitewater Voyages. Just something of interest, and it's about waivers. Cash, I know you had a question more about, this is just answering the Q&A section. You have 2 cross-country racing series and you have trouble finding insurance. You're paying $1,800 a week or weekend. The new thing is that they won't cover minor participants, I mean below 17 years old, unless I partner with the AMA. Cash, are you able to unmute yourself? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm right here.
There. We got time just to really handle your question, and then we're going to pretty much close up shop, and Mike Bamberg's going to summarize what will happen next. But Cash, tell us your issue.
Yeah, so I've been doing this for 4 years. I'm full-time putting on races. We do cross-country races, so we travel to different people's farms. But I've been using a company. I'm not going to say who it is, but anyways, I've been using a company, and every year the price keeps going up. Well, this year now they've told me that they would not cover minor participants anymore unless I want to join the AMA. The other option was to go K&K, but with K&K, we have to draw a map of our track to submit at least 2 weeks before the event. Well, I don't even build the track till the week of the event. So obviously K&K is not an option. This other company, if they don't cover minor participants, then what's the purpose of having the insurance? So we've been exploring, me and another promoter, trying to figure out who we can call to get insurance to cover our events, and obviously looking for something a little cheaper. It started out 4 years ago. I think I was around $1,200 a weekend. Now it's at, the last quote they gave me was $2,000 a weekend, but that wasn't covering the minors. So they went up on the price and they're covering less.
So Donald Birdsong, is there an answer to cross-country racing versus motocross, especially as it relates to minors? Do you have any advice there, Don?
Well, the most likely, I could say the market because I know the one that's not wanting to cover, it's Coaction, New York Marine in general. They got hit with a couple of significant minor claims, and their legal department and their claim department have just taken a position that they're going to restrict. They've got very restrictive minor wording. And I'm surprised that that Cash didn't receive a non-renewal notice versus a quote with minor restrictions. The off-road market is very tight right now. It's very limited is the problem. There's Hadron, which is represented by McGowan, will do off-road riding. They don't have a minor exclusion. However, they do have a participant accident requirement, so they're requiring participant accident coverage to be in place in case there's a medical issue for off-road. K&K is strict, and Cash is right. They do require, for any traveling series, you've got to give them a diagram of your track within a certain period of time, or your course. Cash, the other market you could try is Safehold. I don't know if you've tried Safehold. They represent AIG. They used to Safehold when they had a different market. did do off-road racing. So you could try Safehold as another alternative. Short of that, Prime is a market that you could try and you could approach them. And short of that, the other guys in the motorsport business don't do dirt. A Live Risk won't touch anything with dirt, whether it's cars or bikes. And unfortunately, Allianz and Real Media, they most likely would not try that class of risk, but you could try Real Media. They may be willing to do something, but most likely they wouldn't. So that's
John, you're a wealth of information.
that's kind of the view of the market. I mean, Prime will do it. You can definitely access Prime. And again, I'd try Safehold. Safehold's relatively new with their new market.
And
Cool,
Don,
well-
as a broker, you'd be able to work with cash, or how does that work exactly?
Yeah, well, we definitely could. I mean, I don't want to, I'm going to be open on this and just say these are the market opportunities. I'm not necessarily, trying to sell people to come to me. I want them to be aware of where the market is. We look at our role as market making. We're working with a couple of new markets right now, trying to say, look, we think if you take fresh eyes, fresh look at this. I don't believe the go to AMA is a mandatory issue. And in fact, I can tell you with Coaction writes AMA, they're not going to give AMA a deal on minors either. So if you tried to go to AMA with Coaction, they aren't going to write it because they're giving them the same requirement for no minor coverage. And we're actually looking to replace that coverage with a new market. So, but we'd be more than happy to help you out, but that's kind of the view of the marketplace today. And like I said, we're working with a couple of new markets to see if we can get somebody to come in and make a better market. So,
well, that's great. Mike Bambrick, I'll let you do the matchmaking there between Cash and Don. We're at the top of the hour. Our time is up. You guys are all and gals are busy. So I want to make sure we respect your time. Mike Bambrick, could you summarize what's going to happen after this meeting with either minutes, recordings, and/or a survey? I love your surveys. They're really quick and easy to answer, but it also gives us feedback from the entire group. Mike?
Yeah, for sure. We'll send out the recording from this meeting, as well as Eric mentioned, a brief survey just to get your collective feedback. And if we see a need to do another roundtable that maybe is more specific, potentially just one on insurance, we could do that as well. So we'll take a look at that. So again, appreciate everyone's time and jumping on the call. This was, I think, a good first take. So appreciate it.
And who knows how big this thing's going to get. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it very much being here. And let's see if we can grow this motocross industry by leaps and bounds as it should. Appreciate it. We all love it. See you next time.